Hi, and welcome back to Beans and Bezels. Stowa has a rich history in making some of the best available flieger watches today, and they were among the 5 brands selected to manufacture these watches during World War II. Since I already introduced 2 flieger watches from Laco, I thought I would highlight another beautiful watch design that Stowa has a rich heritage in: marine watches. These seafaring chronometers were used to accurately localize ships using a sextant and a watch to determine the longitude based on the difference between the local time and Greenwich Mean Time. Stowa began manufacturing these certified marine observation pocket watches in as early as 1939, and these historical designs have been reissued as wristwatches in their beautiful marine lineup. I'm a big fan of the small seconds dial layout, so I requested Stowa to loan me the Marine Classic 36 Handwound, and they kindly obliged. I love this design, and it bears strong resemblance to the original pocket watch design from 1939. Let's check it out. The case is 36mm in diameter, 45mm from lug to lug, and an incredible 8.5mm in height. The case is entirely polished and the finishing is excellent. The Marine series have a simple and elegant case design, which is appropriate given the design's heritage. The lugs gently curve down towards the wrist and show off some of that excellent mirror polishing. The lugs do extend beyond the perfectly flat case back, and I found watches that do this to always be comfortable. There is a narrow bezel that seats the slightly domed sapphire crystal. The onion-style push-pull crown is polished and is almost as tall as the case itself, so it's very easy to grip and operate. The crown design suits the watch perfectly. Flipping it over, you have a screw-down case back with a large exhibition window. The window is very welcome here as it shows off the top-grade Pursuit 7001 movement. This watch is rated for up to 50 meters of water resistance. The dial is the best aspect of this watch, and the vintage pocket watch inspired deck watch design is perfectly executed here. The base of the dial is listed as an enamel finish, but isn't made of enamel. I think this finishing is pretty convincing, and the entire dial has that warmth that you get from enamel and ceramic. The entire dial is printed. You have a printed railroad style minute track with a triangle marker for the 12 o'clock and filled rectangular markers for each increment of 5. You then have printed Arabic numerals in a font almost identical to their vintage marine observation pocket watches. The second subdial is at the 6 o'clock, and instead of an Arabic numeral for 6, you have a short rectangular marker instead to balance out the empty space. The subdial is beautifully recessed and also has a printed seconds track. The seconds track is accented by Arabic numerals for every 10-second increment and well-proportioned ticks for every 5 seconds. The quality of printing on all the elements is excellent and beyond anything you'd expect from a $1,000 watch. If the impeccable printing doesn't make you a believer, then you have to look at the hands. The hands are temperature blued steel and are finished to perfection. These hands are incredible, and unfortunately my photographs can't do them justice. The center stack is very neat and also finished in the same brilliant manner as the rest of the hands. I'm speechless at the level of finishing offered on this dial. If I had a definitive checklist for dial finishing and quality, this would get 100% for sure. After spending 3 to 4 hours with this dial under my macro lens, I quickly began plotting how to get one of these watches into my own collection. This watch uses the very slim Pursuit ETA 7001 and measures an impressive 2.5mm in thickness. I believe this is the top grade variant and has wonderful decoration that is on full display thanks to the exhibition caseback. The impressive cleanroom standards of the dial extends to the movement as well, and there's not a visible particle of dust or dirt to be seen here. This movement beats at 3 Hz, but given the small size of the seconds hand, you're not really going to notice this. The 41mm version of this watch ships with a Unitas 6498-1 movement with swan neck regulation and beautiful decoration too. And if I were to try and convince myself to get the larger case, that would be the reason why. I log the accuracy of this watch over a 4-day period and observe roughly plus 11 seconds per day, but I think the movement was magnetized a day or two into my tracking because it was doing roughly plus 3 seconds per day for the week leading up to me starting to log these values. I have a 6.25 inch wrist, and I intentionally requested the 36mm version of this watch. I think I could have pulled off the 41mm option too, but I thought the slightly smaller case would suit this design better, and I was very pleased with how it turned out. The 45mm lug-to-lug width sits comfortably on my wrist, and the 8.5mm height gives it a beautiful sense of elegance. This isn't a sports watch and would do well as an everyday work watch. The 8.5mm height allows it to slip under a cuff, and the 18mm lug width is appropriately selected for the case proportions. The case back is perfectly flat and allows the slightly curved lugs to gently wrap around the wrist. Overall, this watch gets a 10 on 10 for comfort, and there's nothing they could have done better here. The watch ships with a tapered black leather strap. The strap and taper is very reminiscent of vintage watches, and I think this watch would work perfectly on a woman's wrist too. If I owned this watch, I'd probably swap out the strap for something without the taper, but the strap is very comfortable and has a signed buckle too. If you've been considering adding a Stowa Marine to your collection, I suggest you do so without hesitation. The quality of watch being delivered here is beyond impressive for the money. I really have no complaints or areas of concern. The timing accuracy could be one of them, but I'm almost certain that it was my fault getting it magnetized. The finishing across the entire watch is just perfect, and I find it difficult to think of areas of improvement. Maybe they could offer this in a few more dial or color options, like they did with the special edition back in 2016. I would buy those in a heartbeat. Usually when watch reviewers or influencers speak so positively about a watch, my spidey senses tingle. So I want to restate my disclaimer. I received no incentives to make this review or say positive things about this watch. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to read the full review in the link below.